Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria QK.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. We have a lot of great stories for you guys this week. Don't forget that we don't cover all of the stories, and we do an additional episode on YouTube Live in the Gross Room every week. We have an update today for you on the escaped research monkeys. Remember the ones that authorities said had herpes? A man who brings new meaning to the word meatpacker. A 30-year-old guy who faced multiple child rape charges and left behind some permanent evidence, essentially confessing to the crime. And then we're going to talk about the importance or unimportance of thumbs, and a woman who ordered medical supplies and discovered something very morbid when she opened the box. We'll end the episode with your emails, questions, and comments, all that and more today. Let's get started with this monkey story.
Okay, so last week, you guys will remember we reported on a car accident involving lab monkeys, which resulted in several of them getting loose. So if you recall, the monkeys were thought to be infected with herpes, hepatitis C, and COVID. So when police later encountered 5 of them, the word they used was destroyed. So they killed them basically for no reason because they were later found out to not be infectious at all. Anyway, part of the story is that 3 of the monkeys were still on the loose. So one of them ended up getting captured by authorities later, and then over the weekend, one of them was seen in the backyard of a home by a 16-year-old boy who then alerted his mother, who then in turn shot the monkey because she was trying to protect her family.
I mean, I kind of don't blame her, honestly.
I don't blame her. I just feel so horrible for these monkeys.
I do too. And let me say this. If she's a person that doesn't watch the news and keep an eye on it as much as we do, or just heard anything going on, just people talking in the street, the only thing that she might have heard of this story was that there were these agitated, highly aggressive monkeys that are infected with herpes, COVID, and hepatitis C, which is transmissible to humans. That might be the last she heard of it. She might not hear that that was not correct information and that they were just research monkeys and they weren't infectious and they weren't agitated, annoyed, and aggressive, right? So, of course, she's going to do that to protect her family because maybe her children are going and playing in the yard. Even if she has older kids that are just walking out to the car, you would be scared that this thing would attack them, right? I mean, I really don't blame her.
No, totally, because even if they said they weren't aggressive, I mean, the monkey is in an unusual situation, and if she were to go outside, it could feel threatened and then attack a human. So I understand why she did it. I just think this whole situation was such a mess.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I just think that people would have handled it differently if the correct information was given out from the beginning, because that story really went viral. I was hearing people that don't even talk about medical things talk about it because it's just
so
kind of funny to
ridiculous.
think of a monkey as having herpes, even though they definitely get it. It's kind of silly in a way, but yeah, this is how it ends. And is she in trouble? Like, what's any charges against her for shooting this animal, or is she in an area that she's legally allowed to do that?
Well, I didn't see if she was getting charged or anything. I think if this were happening to me, I don't think I would immediately go to I'm going to shoot it. I'd probably call like animal control first and lock myself in my home. But I don't know what goes on in Mississippi and how they treat things. So if she thought this was the best course of action, I guess that's the way she took. So like I don't know. I don't think that would be my first thought to go grab my gun and go shoot a monkey in my backyard. I definitely think I'd call some type of authorities before handling it myself, but I have no idea what people do down there.
All right, I think we need to talk about this meat packer.
So, a 67-year-old man went to the hospital complaining of pain and a feeling of fullness in his rectum and anus areas, but didn't remember anything because he drank a bunch of alcohol the night before. So, I think everybody that listens to this show knows where the story is going, but what did they find?
So they asked him, like, is there any way that there's anything up there? And first he denied it. And then he finally was like, okay, there may be something up there, but I don't know what it is. And I don't know how it got up there. And I was at home drinking by myself. So they did a rectal exam first, and they felt something that was very hard in the anal opening, and then they pushed their finger up further and found that it was kind of squishy. So they did a CT scan to see what was going on, and they saw this large object filling up the rectum, not only the anal rectal region, but going all the way up into the sigmoid colon. And it had what appeared to be metal clips on both ends of it. Now, when I say, normally if you would look at like, let's say a CT scan of a person that poops regularly, you wouldn't see it all the way up into the sigmoid colon and the left colon if people are going to the bathroom regularly. So there's a lot. It's very far up there. That's what I'm trying to get at here. So far that when this was measured, it was almost a foot long.
Wow.
So that, I mean, think about sticking a ruler up your butt, how far up your colon it's going to go, right? So when they ended up removing it, do you know what it was?
Well, I was confused at first because when you're reading this report, it said that they determined it wasn't a sex toy or anything like that. And then due to the fatty content, they determined it was food. So then the guy's basically like, I did have a baton sausage. Is that how you say it? A baton sausage lying around my house, and I don't know what happened to it.
Yes. It was a freaking sausage that was clipped off at both ends with metal. It's a giant, huge, foot-long piece of sausage that he just totally didn't know was up his butt.
I mean, how much are you drinking that you don't remember you stuck something that large into your butt?
He remembers. I'm sure he remembers. It's just that, like, I always say this. I'm not a dude, so I never even would pretend to say that I know what that would feel like embarrassment-wise, but I'm pretty sure walking into an emergency room, you sit down and they say, "What are you here for?" "Oh, my leg hurts, it's bleeding, whatever." No, this is, you have to say this to the person, the clerk, and then you have to say it to the triage nurse, and then you have to say it to a bunch of other nurses and a bunch of doctors and get imaging, and just like the whole thing must be super embarrassing. So I guess he thought, I don't even know what he thought, because ultimately they were going to figure it out, right?
Well, you've discussed this before too, right? Like you can't go from 0 to 100. So you can't just go from never putting anything up there to something that large, right? So clearly he was working his way up to it
I
over
mean,
some
like,
time.
technically you could, but it would be super painful. It would cause tears. It would just not. It's not a beginner sex toy, okay? Like a 12-inch thick sausage is not his first rodeo. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I thought at first when you were saying there was like the metal clips on the end, it was gonna be like Pillsbury cookie dough.
That's
Something.
literally what it is. It
Yeah.
reminds me of when you get the Pillsbury cookie dough,
Like the roll.
the roll that you cut off and just put the cookies onto the sheet. That's exactly what it is. It's got those metal clips on the end, and it's this big, thick plastic thing. Was it in the case? I hope it was in some. Well, obviously, it had to be in some kind of casing for them to get it out. I don't know if it was in a plastic container, like wrapped in plastic, or if it was just the sausage in casing.
No, because you know that the cookie dough is like wrapped in plastic and there's the little metal clips like tying it off at the end. So it was probably similar packaging.
Possibly, but they could just do that with casing too, I suppose.
Yeah,
If it's,
possibly.
like, I'm thinking it's like a Jimmy Dean sausage. You know those ones that come like that, or
No, it's not the little like the little ones.
yeah, it's like
this
but it's like a
giant-ass
firmer
tube.
one. It's not like a soft Italian sausage. It's like something like a salami or pepperoni thing that's like a little bit thicker and harder meat, I would suppose.
I was trying to look up how you pronounce this sausage, and it was just it could be 1,000 different things. There was like a French pronunciation. I guess this sausage is popular in Louisiana, so they down there some people speak French, so it was like baton or baton, or I was like, is it like Baton Rouge? I don't know how to pronounce it, but whatever it was this gigantic sausage. Do not recommend. And if you're drinking to the point that you're sticking something like that up your butt, you need to go to AA.
I have no problem with people doing this. I just think in 2025, it's just unacceptable to be doing something like that. You could probably go on Amazon. I don't want to check right now because then when my kids are in my Amazon account, I don't want them to see. I already looked up sex toys. Remember, that was not sex toys,
Oh, that
sex
doll?
dolls, like $3,000 sex dolls, which I had to get out of my my views or whatever. But you can probably, if you decided that you wanted to do that, you could probably get one sent to you between 5 and 10 p.m. tonight if you really wanted to.
Oh, for sure.
So just don't use things like that. I mean,
Do you-
they have sex toys that are exactly that girth and size that you could use that this won't happen.
Yeah, but I think it boils back down to like people being embarrassed. Like you would be embarrassed that that's in your purchase history on Amazon, right? But you're not embarrassed that you stuck a foot long sausage up your butthole. So like I don't really understand what goes on in people's minds. And now that it's Christmas time, like I was just at Target and all those like little ceramic Christmas trees that are coming out, you know? And I see all these people on Instagram and TikTok being like, "'Tis the season for ER visits."
Unfortunately, every season is for ER visits because people use whatever is laying around and they just don't think about the fact that it's going to get sucked up there and stuck and you will not be able to get it out. It really it's such a shitty a shitty situation for someone to be in because it's not like, I mean, in your personal time when you're doing that, it's not like you're doing anything wrong. You could do that if you want to do it. And it's just like you're forced to go to the hospital and get it taken care of. You can't get it out. It's just terrible. I wish I could have just a public service announcement over the TV when it starts making that weird noise and just tell men to just stop.
All right, this next story is from 2013, but for some reason is circulating again. So, in Oregon, this 30-year-old man was in a relationship with a teenager, and for her 15th birthday, he not only tattooed a butterfly with a skull on her neck, but he also tattooed his name with a clover near her vagina.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing about this story when it happened. So I know that it is older, but I feel like we should still talk about it because it happened. I guess the coolest part of this story is that so I guess to his defense, she told him she was older. I don't know.
She admitted that to the police.
She admitted that to the police. So she I guess was 14 when the relationship started and said that she was older. I don't know how that went down and I don't understand how the police got involved, but probably because her parents, I mean, just think about your kid that age just getting tattoos in general and then being like, where did you get this from? And digging yourself and figuring this out. So the police got involved. And then at one point there was a female detective that was pretending to be her and having conversations with him. And he basically admitted it during the conversations. So this female detective had said, "Hey, do you still have those pictures you took of me?" And he said, "No, but I want you to take new ones. I want full body pics, face pics. I want to see your nipples and my vagina, baby. After all, my name is on it."
Oh my god.
Like what a scumbag, number one, and what an idiot. Just,
Well,
you're going to tattoo. I mean, I guess you could say, I'm not a fan of anyone getting a tattoo of someone's name next to their vagina. It's probably just like, if a man asks you to do that, they're trying to control you, obviously, and mark you as their property, which I am not for anyway. But I guess if he really did believe that she was 18, I don't know.
well, let me tell you. Since this case is so old, I looked up where this guy is today. And you just won't even believe
Well,
it.
I'm sure he's not in jail because who goes to jail anymore?
At the time of this event, he was facing charges of third-degree rape and sodomy, second-degree online corruption of a minor, and a count of using child in display of sexual explicit conduct. So there was kind of no more information about what happened with those charges. But what I did see when I looked up his name was several domestic violence court cases that involved his name. And then as recently as 2018, he was on a most wanted list for 2 charges of sexual abuse, 3 charges of rape, and failing to register as a sex offender and driving under the influence.
That's cool. It's
Yeah.
real cool that guy's just walking around. Speaking of, this is a story that we weren't going to really talk about today because we've talked about it so much, but did you see Jake Harrow? He's the guy who I don't know if you guys remember a couple of months ago that this woman had said her baby got kidnapped out of the parking lot of a sporting goods store, and then it was shady right off the bat. And within the past couple of weeks, he admitted that he killed the baby. So his sentencing was yesterday, which was very fast, actually.
Yeah, it was fast.
But which is good. But he got 25 to life. And I like, my mind is blown because if you guys recall, he beat his other daughter, who was, what, 10 weeks old at the time?
She was very little.
So bad, and shook her so bad that she's permanently disabled, like permanently in a wheelchair, permanently disabled. And then he killed his next child. Why aren't people like that getting life in prison without the possibility of parole?
Well, I agree with you because it's like this. The killing of baby Emmanuel was not his first offense, and the charges, like the sentencing in my mind, wouldn't have been enough for that. But he has a proven history of violence. And it's one
he's
child's
young,
permanently
like
disabled.
25 to life. Like, if he even has a chance of getting out in 25, he's young. He's still going to be young when he gets out.
But how is somebody that acts like that going to recover in prison? Like, you permanently disabled one child and then you killed another years later after barely getting in trouble the first time around.
Yeah,
I don't think
and
he's going to go to jail and have like a come to Jesus and be like, oh, I'm going to change my whole life around and not abuse children anymore. You're like, it's embedded in your brain.
yeah,
It's
I just
not
don't.
going
I
away.
don't understand how like one person can kill one person and go to jail with, for life without the possibility of parole, and then this guy, it's like I feel like he's still getting another chance.
This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
Guys, every week in the Gross Room, we do either a high-profile death dissection or celebrity death dissection. It's a really big article, our biggest of the week. This week was on Lindsay Clancy, and one point of discussion is the amount of psychiatric drugs she was on. If you recall, she was the mom who was it seemed like she was suffering from postpartum depression. She was on a ton of prescription medications, and then her husband came home and found that she had killed 3 of her children and then tried to kill herself. So the discussion that we're having in the Gross Room right now is about people who are members who have just had negative experiences taking these kinds of medications, and if it actually made their life worse than better. And some of the comments are really alarming, especially one of them. It just makes me think like that's exactly what happened in this particular case. We also are having a discussion going about a child we talked about in the news. That could have been a couple years ago now at this point, or at least in last year, of a child who was 6 years old that shot their teacher in retaliation for getting punished. And we just are talking about if it's just possible that children or people in general are just born evil, or if it is a product of their environment. So check that out in the Gross Room.
Head over to thegrossroom.com now to sign up.
Now we're going to have a couple stories that involve the importance or lack thereof of importance of thumbs.
All right. So first, this guy's going viral online after showing that he was born without thumbs and how normal his life could be, even though everybody seems to not think he could do basic things like open a bottle of water, pour glasses of water, just function in everyday life. But he's showing that he's totally fine.
Well, it is cool, because do you remember this just reminded me of Meet the Parents when they were talking about Jinxie Cat flushing the toilet, and then Greg Falker, he said to De Niro's character, like, oh, maybe it was Jinx that flushed the toilet, and he just was like, he doesn't have thumbs, he can't flush the toilet. So that, it's something that you don't really think about, but it is one of the things that they say from an evolutionary standpoint makes us a little bit more advanced, especially with dexterity of our hands and things, because we have opposable thumbs. So you could be born with something called thumb hypoplasia, which is either your thumb doesn't develop enough or it just doesn't develop at all. And this guy just doesn't have any. What's really interesting to me is he doesn't appear to be that old. He's a younger guy, right?
Well, he's like 26.
He's 26. So it's interesting to me because of all of the papers that I've read about this, it seems like they really try to give the person a thumb in that area. They either try to make one and create one out of the stump that is there if there are certain bones in the hand that could make it movable. And if not, in that case, so look at your hand and you just have your 4 fingers without your thumb, they'll actually amputate when the baby's only 1 year old, they'll amputate the index finger and then they'll transplant it to where the thumb should be. So then there's 3 fingers on the main part of the hand and then the index finger works as a thumb.
Is it typical that he would be born without both of them? Because I could see like an anomaly happening where a baby is born without one, but
It commonly occurs on both hands.
okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, so I just think it's interesting that just someone of his age that they didn't try to do some kind of surgery to help fix that. And maybe his parents were like, I mean, cuz if you think about you have a child that's perfectly healthy and think about putting a 1-year-old baby under surgery to get their finger amputated and transplanted to a different part of their hand. It's a very anxious thing to think about.
Well, he had an unusual circumstance too. He was put up for adoption in China and then he was adopted by a couple in the Netherlands, so moved over there. I'm not sure what age he was when all of that went down, but that could be the reason why nothing was done
Yeah,
about
that
it.
probably is the reason. So this condition can happen on its own, but it's also seen in a lot of different kinds of syndromes. So I don't know if he has any of those syndromes that you would see a defect like this, but still interesting. And I love the comments underneath, like that he could stick his hand in a Pringle can without having any kind of a problem, and he can't give a thumbs up, things like that. I just thought it was kind of funny.
He said he also makes jokes about it too, because he said that he could also easily break out of handcuffs. I don't know if he was referring to sexually with his girlfriend or whatever, but he also joked that he gets 20% off of manicures. So
Oh my God.
at least he's, having fun with it and he's showing that, he's living a totally normal life. But he does say he has some anxiety sometimes when he meets new people because he doesn't know how they're going to react. Because as we know, when people see something that's not considered normal, they just can't act normal at all. It's like insane.
Well, it would catch you off guard if you go to shake someone's hand and they don't have a thumb.
Yeah,
Like
I
it's
can see
because
that.
they can't like grab your hand and you're just kind of grabbing their hand. It's just like
Maybe is handshaking normal like everywhere, or is it an American thing?
I don't know.
Because he lives in the Netherlands, so maybe that's not common practice over there. I have no idea. I'm just saying, but I understand his anxiety because it's like people just can't be normal and like not just like gawk at it, or somebody like you would be fascinated from a scientific
Oh my
perspective.
God.
But
If I saw him and met him, I would be like, we need to put you in my book. We need to take pictures. Like it's so rare. So it's just like cool. I think it's cool.
it is cool, and I like that he's showing off how he's like, I'm living a totally regular life. Don't worry about me. Like, that is cool. But on the opposite end of what you're saying with the amputation, so there's another case in India where this 20-year-old got in this terrible accident involving a bike and a tractor, which required his left leg and thumb to be amputated. So they're saying in this rare move, the doctors used a toe from the amputated leg and used it to reconstruct the thumb on his left hand.
Yeah, I mean just because the thumb is such an essential a part of being human, right? So they do try to do that. And they when he got to the hospital, it sounds like he was on either a bike or a motorcycle and got in some kind of an accident. So he was on the street and got pretty banged up. and they were not able to reattach his thumb and his leg was destroyed except for this one toe that appeared to be viable, the second toe. So they were like, you know what, we're going to take that good toe and we're going to put it where his thumb was. And they did the surgery, and the follow-up says that has a fully functional thumb that's really a toe right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing they could do stuff
And
like that.
it's cool to see the difference too, because if that guy didn't have a thumb, him adapting to like life would be very difficult for him as a 20-some-year-old person. But this other guy, for example, that we were talking about earlier, he had it his entire life, so he was able to adapt to it much easier. Because just think about even when a baby with normal hands it just starts to learn how to pick up Cheerios and stuff. It's like all of that. If you learn without the thumb, then you never really knew how to function without it.
Well, exactly, because the first story we talked about, the guy didn't know any different. He was even saying that if at some point he could get thumbs, he might keep them for a day or two to see what it was like, but he's just so used to not having them that it wouldn't make much of a difference at this point.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay, in Kentucky, a woman was shocked when just a few days before Halloween, a box of real human body parts was delivered to her home.
So this woman was opening this box that she ordered of medical supplies that she called urgent medical supplies. I mean, I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe it's diabetes syringes, or it's like chalk pads or something. I don't even know what it could possibly be. But she opens the box and she finds human arms and fingers in the box, like on ice. Real human arms and fingers in a box on ice.
See, how would you respond to this? Because immediately I'm like, I'd probably pass out. Like, or I'd think
I
somebody
wouldn't
was
pass
stalking
out.
me and it was
I
a
would
message.
still be, I would still be shocked. I would just never even think that something like that would get delivered to somebody's house. So I would be completely shocked. I'd be like, this is awesome, but.
So the coroner did end up saying that these parts were for surgical training, but is it common that they just mail body parts like this?
Well, we were talking about this in the high profile death dissection we did on the embalmed head. There was an embalmed head that was found in a wooded area in Pennsylvania. They have no idea who it is and where it came from, but we got to talking a little bit about this underground kind of market of body parts, especially being used in conventions for surgical training and doing different kinds of experiments on medical equipment and things like that. So it's possible, and they did say they were meant for surgeons to practice on. So it was probably something to do with this, and it was couriered to the wrong house apparently. I mean, it's just a very unusual situation, and they do get sent. I mean, all of the cadavers that we get for anatomy lab don't die and get embalmed within the university all the time. So they are getting sent from somewhere. You just have to hope that it's just like a mail mix-up kind of, you know?
Just a mail mix up. And I keep hearing Gabe's voice in the back of my head because, he always is yelling at us for opening his mail. And I think people are going to go after this lady and say, I don't know if it was addressed to her or
what's
not.
his line? You know,
says a
Nicole,
federal
opening
crime.
opening someone's mail is a federal offense.
Yeah, he's so annoying about it. So
But he's not serious though. He's like messing with us. It's not like he's like legit mad about it.
No, I know, but I could see people going after this woman being like, the box probably wasn't addressed to her, so why did she open it? But I'm sorry, but if any package gets dropped off at my house, I assume it's for me. Especially people like us that are chronically ordering stuff.
Well, now I open his stuff like intentionally, and if he's at work or something, I'll just take a picture with it and send it to him and be like, look what you got today. Just to be a jerk. But yeah, I just want to know how that went down. Like, she opens this box and sees this, and obviously to a person that's not in this field or anything, that would be really disturbing, especially because she doesn't know that she doesn't know what's going on. I mean, I guess she called 911. Is that what happened? And obviously the coroner ended up showing up because I guess the police called them and said, like, hey, we have these human remains here. You need to figure out what's going on here. And they were able to, I guess they were able to find the courier delivery service and get it straightened out. So at least there was a packing slip.
If I got a box to my house with 2 human arms and 4 fingers, I would assume the absolute most dramatic worst thing ever. I'd be like, a serial killer is watching me and they sent me this package to torture me. I would just go to the darkest place in my mind. Not like, oh, sorry, mail mix up.
And since they were on ice, I don't know if they were fresh, because I mean, technically, if a surgeon's practicing, it would be better for it to be fresh and not embalmed, because that would just make it not like a realistic situation. Because when you're doing a surgery, a person's not embalmed, so the tissues are going to be different. So I'm assuming that they were fresh on ice, which is actually really disturbing, you know?
So gross.
Yeah. And whose arms were they? Like, if you donated your family member for science or whatever, don't you want to be like, oh, like, was it my mom's arm and fingers that got shipped to this person by accident? Like, how's that going down?
I have no idea. It's so disturbing. Okay, before we get into your guys' questions and comments, we want to tell you we're doing a giveaway. So, over the weekend, it was the 2-year anniversary of this podcast, which I absolutely can't believe. And season 3 officially started yesterday. So we're very excited, and now we're going to be doing a giveaway to celebrate it. So to enter this giveaway, you're going to head over to Apple and leave us a written review, Spotify and leave us a review, or head over to YouTube and subscribe. You will screenshot that and then email it to stories@motherknowsdeath. We please ask that there's only 1 entry per person so it doesn't get crazy in the email box. And then for the prizes, we're going to be giving away 3 prizes. So there's a grand prize. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, you guys can go out to dinner with Maria and I. We did it last year with Emma, who we love now, and we get to see her at all of our events. And she's a gross room member that's really active. So we had a great time at dinner with her, although our waiter sucked. Hopefully we'll go to a different restaurant this time. But yeah, so a dinner with Maria and I. That will be the grand prize, along with you also get a signed copy of my book for that as well. And then do you want to tell them about the other?
Yeah, so you're going to get a free year of the Gross Room. So if you're already a Gross Room member, that'll just be added on. Or if you're not a Gross Room member, you can get a free year. So you're going to get the dinner with us, date TBD. We'll probably do it in like January or February again, right?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
so people could be prepared.
Just like after the holidays and stuff, yeah.
And it will be in Philadelphia, so we could arrange all of that after you got whoever wins. So you'll get the dinner, the signed book, and the free year of the Grocery membership. That is the grand prize. And then the other 2 prizes will be a signed book and maybe a little extra surprise thrown in with that too. So don't forget to head over to Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Either subscribe or leave us a review, and then screenshot it and email it to stories@motherknowsdeath. This contest is going to be going until the end of next week, so every episode we will remind you. But good luck, guys. We really can't wait.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
All right, so let's get into the emails and questions now. This is from Lauren. I was listening to your show talking about the woman that faked a pregnancy with a reborn doll and had to find out if you have seen or heard of this YouTube channel. My daughter, who is 6, stumbled upon this YouTube channel the other night called The Dolls Aren't Real. If you haven't seen it, it's a grown woman who is the, quote, mom to reborn dolls that are toddler size. She acts out their day and talks for them and everything. I was trying to watch to see if maybe the woman may have some cognitive or developmental issues. It's just so creepy and had to make my daughter turn it off. Also, I understand where you, like, something is...
No, listen,
off
I
with
don't
these
care
people.
if she doesn't have it on paper, she does. This is not, the only thing I was thinking though is like, it's a gimmick, and she's trying to make money on social media or on YouTube. And if that's all it's about, and she turns it off and is just like, this shit is so stupid, and like carries on with her day, then that's totally fine with me. But if it's real, she's like definitely messed up.
You also have this grand conspiracy that allegedly Reborn the company is paying these people to do outrageous things
Oh,
to get attention to
that's
the
not even a
dolls.
conspiracy. That's like 100% happening. I guarantee it. Like you really like the advertisement that they get is purely just because of the most outrageous shit. Have you ever heard a story about it that's like actually just calm and just normal? No. It's all weird. It's just weird shit like people breastfeeding them. What was the last one that we did?
This is our typical
I know.
brain
I
brain
can't
fog
even
of like,
remember. We just talked about it within the past couple of weeks about the reborn dolls and oh, the woman pretended to be pregnant.
oh yeah. Sorry, Kira Cousins, that lady that faked the pregnancy, yeah, who
Yeah.
bought the Reborn doll.
Yeah, like it's just like there's never and it was a weird story too. It was just like the fake strap-on belly and this and that and she presented the baby to people for a while. Like it was real like just
And people
weird
were
shit.
holding the baby. It's, it was so weird. Anyway, Lauren wraps up with a question. What exactly are you looking for when they send you a shampoo bottle or other foreign bodies? What do you document or analyze? Appropriate with the sausage story from earlier.
So, let's use the sausage as an example. We in pathology, we get everything that's removed from people. So, we just usually get there's a piece of paper that comes along with every specimen that has the person's name, date of birth, medical record number, and all that stuff. And there's areas where the doctor should fill out exactly what is happening or what the specimen is or anything like that. And oftentimes when we get those, it's like a giant white specimen container with a medical record number and the patient's name, date of birth on it. And then the sheet will just say RFB, which stands for rectal foreign body. It doesn't say anything else. We don't hear any of the story. So all we have to do in our mind is we would say, oh, this is a 67-year-old male. And then I'd take the lid off of the container and there would be a giant poop and blood covered sausage in the container. Like that's the perspective of the pathologist assistant in the lab. So I would take it out and we have to describe it as if we're looking at a photograph of it so the pathologist can envision what was seen. And also this goes as part of their medical record. So it correlates with what the ER doctor saw, how they removed it, what they removed. Everything should correlate between all departments. So we would describe it as first we would measure it. We would say that it was like a cylindrical soft tube of what you're not supposed to say what it is unless it really is, but you could say which is labeled meat. Like if it had on the label says Jimmy Dean sausage, expiration date, we would put everything that was written on the label on the outside, cut it open, see what was inside, grossly consistent with ground beef, sausage, ground sausage,
Ew.
whatever. Like, yes, we describe it. There are 2 metal clips on the end that are intact. The cylindrical object is covered with an abundant amount of blood and bloody fecal material, something like that. And we would say this is for gross examination only, which means we're not taking any microscopic sections of it to see what it looks like under the microscope, because it's just not necessary in that case. But let's say, for example, the emergency room doctor said, or on the CT scan, it showed that there were 2 metal clips on this sausage. And then when they took it out and they sent it to pathology, we got the sausage and there was only 1 metal clip. And there was no documentation that the metal clip was taken out by the emergency room doctor. That means that there's a possibility that one of the metal clips is still up inside of the patient's rectum. So that's why these things become important, even though it's kind of silly. But yeah, we get them all the time. And I'll never forget about the time I went to one of my mentors who was a much older guy than me at the time and in his 70s. And I got this giant dildo that was covered in shit, right? And I'm like, we're not supposed to describe what it is, but this thing, it was like a penis dildo. It looked like a penis, right? And it had a suction cup on the end. And I just, always want to mess with the doctors and stuff. And I called him in and I was like, how would I describe this in my gross description? What do I call this? And he's like, well, it's a dildo. And I was like, so do I put that in like their official medical record that I got this dildo, right? Like, so and that's the cool thing about being a PA. You could get very, there's a lot of liberties and you could do your own kind of style. So, we always made fun of the residents because a lot of the residents were just like barely, would describe things. So one of them would just say like, oh, I got teeth. And that was it. And then other ones would be so descriptive, like, I have this bicuspid that has a slight fracture on the side. And like, there's like a range of descriptions. So some people might just say, I got this dildo covered in fecal material that's, like 25 centimeters long or whatever it is. And other people will say it's a cylindrical, rubbery structure that resembles male genitalia. Like it just could go anyway. So it's pretty fun.
All right, this next one's from Angela. Hi, Nicole and Maria. I just wanted to let you know that after listening to your episode about your cancer removal off your face, after your explanation of what your spot looked like, I had a concerning spot on my face, so I made a dermatologist appointment. Turns out it was a precancerous spot on my face. I got it early and it was frozen off. Thank you for sharing your experience because you just saved me from having a much worse prognosis. Everyone should definitely get a yearly full body assessment with a dermatologist.
That's great to hear. I'm glad you did. I wish I did that and I was able to get mine frozen or scraped off instead of like my surgery was pretty deep for my face, for right in front of my face. And it's something that I have now, like this scar on my face all the time. And
you
it
really
also
can't see it that bad.
I know that you don't think that you could see it, but it's like it flawed my face. My skin feels very tingly and numb and weird there. And it's definitely way more obvious without makeup on, which I didn't have to deal with before. So I mean, it hasn't even been a year yet. And I had a laser treatment to it once, but I haven't had any like serious scar treatment to it. So there's a possibility of it getting better. But I agree that if you have anything that looks abnormal, you should try to get it checked out immediately because once it's full blown cancer, then they have to be a little bit more aggressive with the treatment, and especially on your face, that could leave a scar. So, but thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, we're really happy that you were able to get that sorted out.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people don't like I didn't I know a little bit more than the average person as far as what cancer looks like and skin cancer just because I've dealt with it so many times in the lab. But just in general, that lesion that grew on my face was not normal for my face. And that's what really made me go get it checked out. Like, you look at your face in the mirror every day and you kind of know that your pattern of zits and bumps you have, I know where I have beauty marks and stuff like that, and I know bumps. Like Maria has a bump next to her nose that's been there her whole life. But it's flesh tone. It's not it's like an amelanonic mole. Like it doesn't have any pigment in it. And that's normal for her though. So like when you see something on your face that's not normal, you should go get it checked out right away because it could be something like that, and it presents in all different kinds of ways.
Well, I think a lot of people too, when they see new things pop up, are very in denial about it. So at least, some people are taking your experience seriously and being proactive about it, because a lot of people wait and then it becomes a much larger issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I saw mine, I thought it was a zit at first. I tried to pop it. It didn't pop as normal, and I didn't think anything of it. And I just kept an eye on it for a week, and it didn't change. And then I was like, let me try this again, and it didn't do anything. And then finally, I was just like, oh my God, this is something bad. Like it just knew it.
Yeah.
Just because it's just not anything like that I'm used to. So that and that's not just your face. It's like any part of your body. If you see something that's not always there, just go get it checked. I mean, you could be maybe taking a half of a day off of work and going out of your way for absolutely nothing. But then if it's something, it's kind of like worth it, you know?
All right, last questions for me, and it might be the most important one I've ever been asked. Are you team Dean, Jess, or Logan? Which is a quintessential question for any Gilmore Girls fan.
I'm
So,
like, I have no idea what you're
Lillian will know.
I know you tried to get me into that show, but I never really watched it. Like, I don't know about it.
It's so good.
I'm not against it.
I'm definitely not Teen Dean because he's very abusive. Upon rewatch, everything I watch, he's the worst boyfriend ever. I hate Logan because he's a rich, spoiled brat, and him and Rory end up having that affair in the reboot, and I don't like that. And I do love Jess because Milo Ventimiglia is a very fine specimen of an actor, and he's nice to look at, and he was the coolest of her boyfriends. He lived in Philly, he wrote zines, he was kind of punk rock, and he could deal with Rory's bullshit, and he was intellectually on the same level as her, even though he had problematic things too. But forever and always, Team Jess. So, guys, don't forget to enter our anniversary giveaway, and if you have comments or questions for us, please submit them to stories@motherknowsdeath.com.
See you guys tomorrow. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.